In the closing years of World War II, when the Allies were preparing for the final push into Nazi Germany, the US military conceived something truly colossal, a tank so massive that it defied all conventional limits. This was the T28 Super Heavy Tank, a machine built not for speed or agility, but for one single purpose: to crush fortified German defenses and shrug off any weapon thrown at it. Though it never reached the battlefield, the T28 remains one of the most fascinating and extreme experiments in American armored history. The purpose behind the beast. The T28 project began in 1943, at a time when the U.S. Army anticipated facing the heavily defended Siegfried Line, a series of bunkers, obstacles, and anti-tank fortifications protecting Germany's western border. Engineers realized that standard tanks like the M4 Sherman or even the M26 Pershing would not be able to withstand such heavy fire or destroy reinforced concrete defenses. The solution: a super tank, a slow-moving fortress on tracks, armed and armored to an extreme degree. The concept prioritized protection and firepower over mobility. It would advance relentlessly, absorb massive damage, and deliver punishing blows to enemy strongholds. Armor was the defining feature of the T28. The vehicle's frontal armor was up to 12 inches (305 millimeters) thick, nearly twice that of the German Tiger II. Even its sides carried over 4 inches of steel protection. This made the T28 almost immune to most anti-tank guns of the era. However, that armor came with a cost. The tank weighed an incredible 95 tons, making it one of the heaviest armored vehicles ever produced by the United States. With such mass, it could barely move faster than 8 miles per hour, turning it into a moving fortress rather than a traditional combat tank. Firepower to match its size. To destroy enemy bunkers and fortifications, the T28 carried a 105mm T5E1 gun, capable of firing high-explosive shells that could shatter concrete or pierce heavy armor. This same gun was used on the T95 gun motor carriage, another heavy experimental vehicle of the time. The gun was mounted in a fixed casemate rather than a rotating turret, meaning the tank had to turn its entire body to aim. It sacrificed flexibility for sheer destructive potential, a design more similar to a mobile artillery piece than a modern battle tank. Because of its extreme weight, the T28 faced several mechanical and logistical problems. Its suspension system had to support nearly twice the load of any previous American tank. To reduce ground pressure, engineers gave it 4 tracks instead of 2, each side had a double set of treads. The outer tracks could even be detached for transport, though doing so required special equipment and hours of work. Transporting the T28 was also a nightmare. It was too heavy for most bridges, too wide for standard rail cars, and too slow to keep up with advancing forces. These challenges meant it was impractical for actual battlefield use. Only 2 prototypes of the T28 were ever built. Testing began in 1945, but by that time, the war in Europe had ended. With no need for an assault tank of this magnitude, and with new technologies like the atomic bomb and jet aircraft shifting military priorities, the T28 was soon deemed obsolete. One of the prototypes was later destroyed in an accident, and the other was lost for decades before being rediscovered in the 1970s at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Today, it stands preserved at the National Armor and Cavalry Museum in Georgia, a silent reminder of an era when size and armor were the ultimate goals of tank design. The T28 never saw combat, but its legacy lives on as a symbol of human ambition and engineering extremes. It demonstrated the limits of conventional tank design, and influenced future development, showing that mobility and versatility were just as vital as armor and firepower. In many ways, the T28 represented the end of an era, the last attempt to build a land battleship. As military technology evolved toward faster, smarter, and more mobile warfare, the concept of super heavy tanks faded into history. The T28 Super Heavy Tank stands today as both a technological marvel and a cautionary tale. It was the embodiment of brute force, unstoppable in theory, but impractical in reality. Though it never fired a shot in anger, it continues to capture the imagination of tank enthusiasts and historians around the world. In the story of armored warfare, the T28 remains a legend, a 95-ton monument to human ingenuity, ambition, and the endless pursuit of battlefield dominance.